This is Qtv News and I am Jennifer Sonko. Thanks for joining us. First, the main local and sports news headlines. President Barrow's annual Meet the People tour started today. Over the weekend, President Barrow attended and spoke at rallies organized by supporters of his party, the NPP. Warrant Officer Class 2 Sam Kambai of the Gambia Armed Forces Monday told the Truth Commission he was unlawfully arrested, mercilessly tortured and detained for 4 years. Public health officials have closed down some restaurants in Kanifing municipality for failing to abide by public health guidelines. In international news, does Africa have reason to be pessimistic or optimistic? We have special report on this. In sports news, Kenya's Bibi Watt Kandi set a new half-marathon world record. WAFO Zone A, the Zone B equivalent of which was won by Gambia, has kicked off in Benin. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you for joining us. Now the local news in detail. President Barrow, accompanied by senior government officials on Monday, left for his constitutionally mandated 2020 Meet the People tour. QTV's Aliu Cisse is traveling with the presidential delegation and he files on this report.
Residents of Banjul gathered at the State House gate to bid farewell to President Barrow as he set off for his annual constitutionally mandated nationwide tour. The Constitution provides for the President to embark on such tours at least twice a year. President Barrow is accompanied by senior government officials. The cheering crowd escorted him to the Banjul terminal, where he was seen off by the Vice President, the mayors of Banjul, Rahim Malik Low, and elders of Banjul before inspecting a guard of honor. A Quranic recitation was also done by the Muslim elders of Banjul. On the other side of the river, thousands, including local authority officials and religious leaders, gathered at Barrow Terminal to give President Barrow a befitting welcome to their region. He will use the tour to discuss and assess the condition of people and gather first-hand information on the impact of government policies on their lives. President Barrow is hoping for a successful tour.
The expectations are very, very high. We want to dialogue with the Gambian people. We want to hear from them, and we want to update them on the state of affairs in this country. I think basically that's all about the tour.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Over the course of the tour, President Barrow is expected to chair 46 public meetings and, where possible, do spot visits to development projects throughout the country. He is expected to use the opportunity to emphasize his call for unity, social cohesion and harmony for peace, security and socio-economic and political progress of the country. On the other hand, the tour is seen by locals as a rare opportunity to put their concerns directly to the President. On Monday, he held meetings in Esau, Nyomi Lameng before a night stop in Karawan. On Tuesday, he will hold meetings in Kerngor in Jogadi constituency and Bamburukunda in Lower Badibo. Reporting for QTV News from Karawan, North Bank region, I am Aliu Cisse.
On the eve of his Meet the People tour, President Barrow on Saturday revealed plans to construct strategic road networks in the Kombo region. He made the revelation at 2 political rallies organized by his NPP grassroots supporters on Saturday in Sunchu Alaji and Burfoot. The president also claimed people are leaving other political parties to join him. Aliu Cisse again.
The 2 rallies at Sunchu Alaji in the Old Union constituency and Burfoot in the Sanameting constituency were separately organized by grassroots supporters of President Barrow's NPP party in both constituencies. Speaking at both rallies, which saw various ministers in attendance, and at the invitation of the organizers, President Barrow, who also doubles as the Secretary General and leader of the National People's Party, said the roads to be constructed at the Farato Jambur, Latrikunda Sokuta Kololi, and Wulinkama Burfoot Ghana town roads. He was elated by the turnout at both rallies. This shows that our politics at the grassroots is working. It is true for anyone to claim to own political party, but it is untrue to claim to own the people. This is why people are joining NPP from other parties, he told the meetings. He welcomes all those who have joined his party, assuring that NPP is open to all. On his development projects, he said the projects in Banjul, Basse and other parts of the country are evidence of his commitment to develop the whole country. On electricity, he said the government intends to achieve universal access to electricity by 2025. The president also made a donation of 2 footballs and 100 football jerseys to the youth who play football at the Sunchu Alaji football field. For those claiming NPP doesn't have people are dreaming, because we continue to see people joining the NPP, a yet to be launched party, said Musa Drame, Lance Minister. Ibrahim Asila, Minister for Information and Communication, refused media and social media reports that the government planned to provide COVID-19 financial support to sex workers. He urged religious leaders and the public to disregard those reports. Minister Silla added that the government also plans to secure more public transport buses to ease the transport challenges faced by many. The Women's Enterprise Fund, he went on, has also been created to advance the socio-economic development of women through loans and training. Ami Fabre, Minister of Agriculture, clarifies that the idea of issuing donkeys to farmers in Badibu doesn't come from the President, but her ministry through the regional directors. The reason for issuing these donkeys to the farmers is because every farmer can't get a tractor, but with these donkeys, they can always start tilling the land when rain starts, end of quote, she clarified. At both meetings, local speakers expressed their support for the President as they all call on Gambians to join the NPP party. They are hopeful of a landslide victory in the next election. Several people announced they were joining the NPP party, including among them Usman Gay and Moriba Suso, who claimed to be joining the NPP from APRC and GDC respectively. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Aliu Sise.
We will take a short commercial break. When we come back, we will take a look at more local news stories. Do stay tuned. Thank you for joining us. Public health officials from the Ministry of Health on Monday embarked on a day's tour of restaurants within the KMC that they said had failed to strictly adhere to public health regulation. Omar P. Jallo went along with the team and he fastened his report.
On the 15th of October 2020, President Adama Barrow declared public places throughout the Gambia open. However, the Director of Public Health Services at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Buba Manjang, said regulations required operations of these public places to strictly adhere to the public health regulations, adding that all other public places will be visited and closed if found wanting.
The restaurant that we went to, the health staff have been visiting them, and then they have been educating them on the usage of the guidelines, following the guidelines, what is entailed in the guidelines. They have been working with them for more than 2 to 3 weeks now. So we notice anytime they visit, they realize there is not much improvement. So the only thing is to force us to close the place because they are not fulfilling the requirements.
The Regional Principal Public Health Officer, West Coast 1 Musa Kamara, called on the public, especially operators of these public places, to strictly adhere to the public health reopening and regulation orders to prevent a second wave of the coronavirus in the country.
Starting with restaurants and gym centers, but in the course of time, we will also look into other institutions because a rule for one is rule for all, and then we need to ensure that the protocols or the measures are observed.
The team visited and closed an establishment called Fast Alice Preparing Food with Love at Westfield, JJ Restaurant at Westfield, Broadway Restaurant in Serakunda, Delicious Home Food Restaurant Tabokoto, and Starfish Fast Food and Coffee Shop in Latikunda Saviji for not adhering to the health regulations. Aliu Jallo, a public health officer, said over the past 3 weeks they have been very busy engaging and sensitizing operators and managers of restaurants, but most of them are not complying with the regulations.
What we did was that we came to institutions, trying to familiarize ourselves with them and also tell them some of the guidelines that are in place. Trying to make them understand what are the guidelines are and what they need to do. And we emphasize to them that if you come for the second time and we found you defaulting in any of the guidelines, your institution can likely be closed because we want to contain the chain of transmission. We want to ensure that we suppress the virus. So one of the measures of suppressing the virus is, business centers, institutions where people gather. People have to observe some of the guidelines that have been issued by the Minister of Health. So this was made known to them that if you come for the second time, we are going to take actions.
However, some operators and managers of these restaurants, like Ali Jawad, the owner of First Alice Restaurants at Westfield, denied having been given prior notice in relation to today's operation. However, Yaya Suare, operator of Starfish Fast Food and Coffee Shop in Latrikunda Savage, confirmed the notification by the public health officers.
No, it's not easy. You too much disturbing my me to tell me easy. This is not me. I have to put the law. This is the law in the country. You people said nobody put mask. Nobody put mask. How me I want to fight people to put mask?
A person who breaches a provision of this Public Health Regulation Orders 2020 commits an offence and is liable to a conviction, to a fine of $2,000 or imprisonment for 3 months or both. Equally, all owners, managers and operators of businesses have to clearly display the 1025 toll-free hotline of the Ministry of Health within their premises and encourage all staffs and visitors to call the number for information on the COVID-19 pandemic. As some have found out, failure to do so can have serious consequences. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
A 6-day training program facilitated by UNDP to prepare council members ahead of the Integrated Financial Management Information System is underway at the Accountant General's Department in Banjul. The program will be rolled out in January 2021. Lolly M. Kamara attended the opening and he fastened this report.
The 6-day training brought together CEOs from area councils across the country to take part in the preparatory process of the IFMIS document, which is at an advanced stage ahead of the January 2021 rollout. The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry for Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs, Buba Sanyang, outlined that the training is crucial for the realization of their sustainable development goals, stating that the Accountant General's Office and UNDP are ready to support the councils in their preparatory process making.
These 2 units, that is the Accountant General under the Economic Management Unit of the UNDP, is there to support that process, to build the capacity and to build the infrastructure to enable councils to receive the decentralization proper. And I think we are taking that step and we are moving to the right direction.
David Gomez, the Acting Director of Governance, Ministry for Lands, said the day is indeed a landmark in the history of local government reform, as the government, through the Ministry of Lands with support from key partners, had visited all the councils in order to make a comprehensive report of what is available on the ground. And according to him, the essence of the assessment was to prepare the ground for a day like today.
Therefore, today a new baby has been born, and hopefully come January 2021, we as a sector, as government, will do the christening ceremony. That is the naming ceremony. By that I mean, IFMIS will finally and unstoppable be rolled out to councils, thus fulfilling the dream of government, fulfilling the dreams and aspirations of the Ministry of Lands for Regional Government and its key partners and stakeholders.
Nuha Nyasi, Program Officer of UNDP's Economic Management Project, says the overall objective of this project is to strengthen national and subnational institutions responsible for economic management, public finance management, and evidence-based planning, among other things.
Divided into 3 main areas. 1 is the environment, and then 2 is the governance, and then 3 is the poverty reduction and socio-economic transformation, of which this project is a component of that. Now, oftentimes our engagement, because my role is to translate your aspirations or the government's aspirations and then ensure that this is documented and ensure that it is mainstream into our annual work plans, and then also solicit resources from UNDP.
Momodu Lamin Ba, the Accountant General, said from January last year, they as a ministry have upgraded the IFMIS platform, which is available on the internet, which highlights the importance of the training.
This training is very important. It brings about a lot of things. number one, it brings about standardization, because all the councils now will use the same chart of accounts. What an account code means for one council, KMC, is what it means for Janjamburi Area Council. That is what it means for Kerewan, Kuntauri, everywhere.
Both the CEO of Mansakonko Area Council, Paset Sise, and Senabu Martin Sonko, CEO of Kanifi Municipal Council, hailed the organizers for delivering timely and long-awaited training. The training is scheduled to end on Saturday. For Qtv News, Loliam Kamara.
A two-day convergence to validate the draft bill on the Births, Deaths, Marriages and Divorces Act 1990 is underway. I attended the opening ceremony and this is my report. Information from vital records is crucial to identify and quantify developmental areas, especially in terms of health, and to measure progress toward quality improvement on public health goals. In particular, maternal and infant mortality serve as important indicators of a nation's health, thereby influencing policy development, funding of programs, research, and measures of healthcare quality. Accurate and timely documentation of births and deaths are essential to high-quality vital statistics.
The World Bank, through its Health Task Team and Civil Registration and Vital Statistics, CRVS, in 2018 launched a comprehensive assessment of the CRVS in the Gambia by hiring a consultant, an international consultant, for a period of 2 months. Now, this consultancy worked with the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders in government, notably GBOS, Gambia Bureau of Statistics, the Judiciary, the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Lands, and the Population Secretariat.
Birth registration is taken for granted and it is a crucial step missing to establish a child's legal proof of identity. Without it, children are invisible to their governments, meaning they could miss out on their rights being protected and upheld, as well as essential services like healthcare and education. Birth registration is a process of recording a child's birth. It is a permanent and official record of a child's existence and provides legal recognition of that child's identity.
Births need to be registered immediately, and then it needs to go with the laws of the country that indicates that who should register and when they should register and where they should register, so that they are not left behind, and then their rights are preserved. And also it enhances children not to be abused one way or the other, because they will be linked to their parents, for parents to take responsibility. The school enrollment is also there, juvenile justice is also there. All this will be linked to the law that indicates that who this act will enhance the service providers and the general public to ensure that their rights are preserved.
Not only is birth registration a fundamental human right, it also helps ensure that children's other rights are upheld, like the rights to protection from violence and justice. The information collected from birth registration records helps government decide where and how to spend money. The process of registering births, deaths and others will now be done digitally. The Regional Principal Public Health Officer for the North Bank region is Michael Mendy, shares the benefits of going digital.
That will be very much helpful because especially, most in community sometimes they don't value these documents, especially the birth certificates. They value other ones which are more political than birth certificate. Those ones they can keep them, like they can be with them for a long time, but at most of times they will come missing those certificates, and records also have to be in place, so that because registration is expected to be done at once. So when that happens, at least digitally, those information will always be ever ready, and they can always be tracked out at any time.
Low birth registration has led to statelessness of many individuals, and its implications and effects on the lives and livelihood of people affected are huge. A stateless person has no legal bond between him or her and any state. In essence, the person has no nationality, and without a nationality, participation in society and the protection of one's human rights is severely affected. Most importantly, and in its widest consequence, Failure to record these statistics means it will not be possible to accurately record the country's population. We will take another short commercial break, and when we come back, we will take a look at international and sports news. Do stay tuned. In international news, recently published articles by journalists and academics express ominous concerns over Africa's immediate future. This set against the background of a new narrative of hope known as Afro-optimism sweeping across the continent. Mamadou Mboj has the rest of that.
Earlier this year, the UK's Guardian newspaper ran the following headline: Afro-optimism on the rise among the continent's youth, finds survey. This was the African Youth Survey 2020, conducted by the Ijikowitz Family Foundation, a leading African foundation encouraging active citizenship across the continent. The survey revealed that youth in Africa are imbued with optimism about the future, and the finding fits squarely into the new narrative often touted by politicians, international financial institutions, and some intellectuals of an Africa on the move, of Africa as the new frontier of capitalist expansion, and Africa on the path to emerging with growth rates that would be the envy of northern countries. This new confident attitude has even earned a name for itself, Afro-optimism, standing in stark contrast with the stereotypes of hopelessness typified by Afro-pessimism, which all too often make the headlines. However, whether an optimist or pessimist, each must orient its expectations at reality. Recent articles by experts and academics have joined a growing chorus of reports sounding the alarm about the dangers in the horizon for the continent. The BBC's security correspondent Frank Gardner, in an article titled "Is Africa Overtaking the Middle East as the New Jihadist Battleground?" warns that the epicenter of the terrorist organization, Islamic State, appears to have moved from the Middle East to Africa. Quoting the Global Terrorism Index, Mr. Gardner revealed that in 2019, sub-Saharan Africa recorded the largest number of IS-related terrorism deaths at 982, or 41% of the total. And according to the U.S. State Department's coordinator for counterterrorism, Africa is a key front in the next stage in the fight against terrorism. A French security expert is also quoted as saying, Africa is going to be the battleground of jihad for the next 20 years and is going to replace the Middle East. In another article entitled "What is Behind Tanzania's Authoritarian Turn?", the Cameroonian political scientist Dr. Manu Lekunzi, a teaching fellow in international relations at the University of Aberdeen, United Kingdom, argues that President John Magufuli's landslide in the recent election in Tanzania might be symptomatic of a re-emerging trend of authoritarianism in Africa, with the apparent failure of the neoliberal model of development favored by the West. Dr. Lekunzi sees a future where African leaders look to China for its model of what he calls authoritarian developmentalism. There may be variation on how this plays out, but authoritarian developmentalism is on the rise in Africa, he concluded. Another area of continental concern is the current spate of secessionist movements, according to Nigerian historian Toyin Falola, history professor at the University of Texas. In an interview with Deutsche Welle, Professor Falola observed that diverse secessionist movements are back in the spotlight in Africa, from the Tigray region in Ethiopia to the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon and Ghana's Western Togoland crisis, and nearer to home the Senegal Casamance crisis and other separatist flashpoints. The professor blames the colonial era demarcations of political territories and what he calls the post-colonial mismanagement of these territories by the African leaders. And there appears no end in sight as thousands continue to die or become maimed or displaced by these tensions. Perhaps the right attitude is neither Afro-optimism or pessimism, but Afro-realism, for there are opportunities as well as threats. It all depends on the actions we take now. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mboj.
Over the weekend, in a race in Valencia, Kenya's Qtv Ward Kandi set a new half-marathon world record in a race where the top 4 finishers all beat the previous record.
For many years, running the 13.1 miles that make up the half-marathon distance had seemed an impossibility. However, in recent years, several runners have done so, and now Kenya's Qtv Ward Kandi has taken the record into previously undreamt-of territory. Kandi not only took a minute off his own previous best, he took a remarkable 30 seconds off the world record. Of the 15 times the distance has been run in less than an hour, 12 of those have been by Kenyan runners, including Paul Tergat and Samuel Wanjiru, who have done it 3 times each. Coming in 5 seconds behind Kandi in Valencia over the weekend was Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo. Ronex Kipruto was third, 17 seconds behind Kandi, with fellow Kenyan Alexander Mutiso further back 27 seconds in 4th place. For QTV News, this is Ade Darami.
A week after Gambia's young Scorpions secured their spot in the Under-20 tournament in Mauritania from WAFU Zone A, the Zone B equivalent kicked off in Benin over the weekend.
In Group A's first match, hosts Benin were beaten 1-0 by unfancied Niger. In the other Group A game, Burkina Faso and Togo played out an entertaining 1-1 draw. In the next round of games, Benin will face Togo on Tuesday, while Burkina Faso will face Niger. In Group B, meanwhile, which is made up of just 3 teams, Ivory Coast and Nigeria drew 1-1. Nigeria will go on to play Ghana in the next game in the group on Wednesday. The WAFU B Under-20 Championship ends on 20th December with 2 finalists qualifying for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations in Mauritania in 2021. Reporting for QTV News, I am Ade Darami.
And in the final sports news today, 3 teams have progressed through to the main draw of the African Champions League without having to play the second legs of their preliminary round ties.
The lucky teams through to the last 32 of the tournament are Ghana's Ashanti Kotoko, Algeria's Mouloudia Alger, and Mali's Stade Malien. Ghana's Ashanti Kotoko and Stade Malien might have to wait for confirmation after protests lodged by their Mauritanian and Guinean opponents respectively. Mouloudia's game against Buffles on Friday failed to go ahead after the side from Benin were unable to travel to Algeria. The Stade Malien and Ashanti Kotoko games were cancelled after positive COVID tests meant their opponents were left with less than 15 players in their squads. Confederation of African Football amended its regulations for COVID so that teams with less than 15 players cannot compete in continental matches. However, the teams deemed to have lost out are disputing the ruling. Guinea's Anglo Gold arrived in the Malian capital Bamako with 17 players when 4 of those tested positive for COVID-19 on arrival. It left the squad with just 13 players leading the game to be called off. However, Anglo Gold dispute the results of the test done in Mali. Stade Malien were going into the second leg having won 2-1 away in the previous weekend. On their Facebook page, Anglo Gold started and posted a photograph with the words, "Supposedly declared positive, we are still negative. We are in a Mali hospital at COVID-19 care center. The decision will be challenged before the football authorities. The conspiracy of 2020. Let's be proud of our young people." End of their quote. The match between Ashanti Kotoko and Mauritania's Nouadhibou might also have gone the same way, after Nouadhibou had 2 of their 16-man squad return positive COVID tests on arrival and saw that game called off. However, Nouadhibou also disputed the results of the test carried out in Ghana. The first leg in Nouakchott had ended in a 1-1 draw. They protested, and in the end the match did not go ahead, but with Kotoko taking the field without any opponent, just in case anything happened. However, they were awarded the match 2-0 to progress 3-1 on aggregate. Gambia's representatives, the Gambia Armed Forces, were knocked out after losing 2-0 in Senegal on Sunday, having drawn the first leg in Banjul 1-1. Reporting for QTV News, I am Ade Darami.
Before we end this news bulletin, let's take a quick look at our main stories. President Barrow's annual Meet the People tour started today. Over the weekend, President Barrow attended and spoke at rallies organized by supporters of his party, the NPP. Warrant Officer Class 2 Sam Kambai of the Gambia Armed Forces Monday told the Truth Commission he was unlawfully arrested, mercilessly tortured and detained for 4 years. Public health officials have closed down some restaurants in Kanifing municipality for failing to abide by public health guidelines. In international news, does Africa have a reason to be optimistic or pessimistic? We had a special report. In sports news, Kenya's Bibi Watt Kandi set a new half marathon world record. WAFU Zone A, the WAFU Zone B equivalent of which was won by Gambia, has kicked off in Benin. World Athletics today announced the male and female athletes of the year. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us at 10 for another bulletin. Thanks for watching and have a good week ahead.